connection with that, I want to actually, while we're on this subject, I know Manjari, you have touched a bit upon, just the kind of culture that GE has, and how it was, very supportive of your women colleagues, and how HR was very strict about it, and that's how the conditioning was. I want to ask you and then Padmaja also this question: any specific gender inclusivity, like Namita was saying that diversity is one thing, to show for, but then actually inclusive measures like certain actions or policies, or whatever it may be, where you can actually really work towards inclusivity in terms of gender. Is there anything in mind that you would want to share either from GE or from Maruti? And then I would also pose the same question to Padmaja after that.
Yes, and I agree with Namita when she says that there is a difference between inclusiveness and diversity. Diversity is more sort of trying to get the numbers right of the ratio. And diversity in India is, we talk of more gender diversity, but I think we are really waking up to that diversity could be at various different levels. But inclusiveness, I think, is extremely important, and that happens at various different types of things. So always making sure that there is even at the basic hiring process, how do you, whether you hire a woman or not, that's second. But to make sure that every time you're hiring, your slate always has women on it. So they are given an equal playing field. Everything being equal, she has an equal chance of getting selected as much as a man. But if you don't get her to that slate itself, then she doesn't stand a chance at all. You're not giving. So that was one measure. We used to do that a lot. I think we're trying to encourage that even now in Maruti, because I think we are beginning to wake up to the fact. Like recently, there was a whole article on MG, the Hector that they have come out with. There are more than 33% women who contributed to getting that vehicle up and about. So they're trying to raise it to 50%. So I think even hardcore manufacturing, companies are also now beginning to look at this whole process, and so is my company looking at it. I think inclusiveness is also making sure that the women find a very, somebody mentioned it, that a conducive atmosphere to survive and to grow and to be understood. So to be empathetic to their needs. I have over 35% diversity in my team, and they're young people, so I'm very prepared, and I'm going through the fact that they're all at childbearing ages. So they have a family where bringing up children or delivering babies is going to be a very natural process of life. So giving them that space, making sure that it is not considered like, oh, she's now gone on maternity, what the hell am I going to do? It is that you understand that this is a great thing. You are also bringing a life into the world, but just as a man would probably be given some leave, and nobody bothers and conveniently takes and does his work. The similar way, I think, the work would be just sort of channeled into with the rest of the team, and then a person comes back and is equally inclusive about that. You're not reducing the performance ratings of women when they proceed on maternity. See, that's very important. So we have in Maruti also, we've got this now, that there is going to be a certain minimum level of rating that would be provided to them, so that at least the platform to begin back is not come down. It gives you a platform from there to take off. Obviously, yes, we do have our priorities, and we also have to be pragmatic and realistic that yes, if you've been away for some time, there will be some catching up to do, which is fine. Those are trade-offs that you make in life. But more than that, I think the more women you will have, I think the male population also becomes gets cognizant of seeing female professional colleagues in the environment and how to deal with them. I think when you don't have women around, it gets very difficult to know what kind of behaviors would be acceptable and or not, because you've never seen them and never done them. So you need to be around them to be able to get that understanding. we are also, I think, doing a lot on, the prevention of sexual harassment is an act, all right, but I think a lot of training and sensitization. And I believe that this all, to make it very, very inclusive, must come right from the top. It should be top down. It cannot be otherwise. The chairman, the CEO, and the management, everyone needs to be talking the same language for it to go down and for it to become a credible voice. It could be something on paper, but if it doesn't translate into action, people begin to doubt its credibility. So it has to be done in that manner to be able to cement it. And I think some companies are ahead of the curve in this, and others are catching up. But I fully believe now that inclusion and diversity is a big agenda. Just like sustainability and climate change is, this is an equally big agenda, and teams and companies are becoming cognizant of it. It will take some more time than the others, but I think they're on the track.
That's really interesting. Thank you. Thanks, Manjari. Padmaja, would you, like to add to that and share
Yeah,
a bit from Indus Law?
yeah. In fact, as I'd already said earlier, I mean, it's very important to have a conducive environment, so that one can rise to their potential. So, I would be remiss to sort of, not compliment my organization here, because it's not about gender inclusivity here, but about the absence of exclusivity, as I would put it. So, that's what I have been privileged to experience here. Age and gender here have no part to play in decision making, client management, strategizing. It's all about which individual can best deal with what's at hand. Indus Law actually has helped me create an image amongst my clients that my team and I are now, named as the 3 a.m. lawyers. So, I mean, if the gender, that I don't feel there's a gender disparity in a place where I work. And, with the times, changing, we've sort of brought in more policies in terms of unlimited leave, which is a policy that we've introduced. We've also within the firm, we're trying to introduce a flexible work from home policy, which after the pandemic, we've realized that it is possible, and, people can balance a work and home situation. It is a very pro-woman culture. And as I'd already said, we're one of the highest women to men ratio in the leadership role scenario as well. So I think the environment is very women, friendly. And I think overall, yeah. But as I would like to add, like Manjari said, it's all sort of changing and evolving. So with time, I guess we all have to change with respect to framing other policies. I would believe that now even there's a bill that's been introduced with respect to period leaves for women. So things like that are coming in, and things every day will evolve and change. So it's always a change in process of change, but I guess we're all reaching there.
So if I may just add there, I completely agree with Padmaja. I think from what I hear from my friends from other law firms, I think I'm very proud to say that Indus Law, I think, is ahead of the curve in terms of giving giving that support that working women, working mothers need. I have been here for about 7 years, and I have seen several. I of course joined as a working mother, but I've seen several women take breaks. Could be maternity leaves, could be a sabbatical. They come back, but I consistently see them very eager to get back. They never shy away, or they're never nervous about what this entails for me as a working mother. I think a big part of that, the credit should go to right, like Manjari was saying, it comes from top down. Right from people in senior leadership, to everyone along the chain. I think they're sensitized to the fact that the atmosphere needs to be inclusive. We need to encourage and be supportive of women getting back to work. And I think the value that women bring to the table is appreciated, and there is no discrimination or favorable bias towards men that I've seen.